Hello horror hounds, do you like vampires? I know I do. Do you like it when someone gives a fresh, new, interesting spin on the old myths? Because I really like that as well. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about a criminally unsung series of books, Brian Lumley's Necroscope series. If you've read these, you already know why I want to rave about them. If you haven't, I'll be very spoiler light, but trust me, you're going to want to immerse yourself into the world of Brian Lumley's Necroscope and his amazing vampires. The first book in the series, Necroscope, tells the story of a man called Harry Keogh, who as a child learns that he has the ability to talk to the dead. They learn that they're not alone. Through Harry, they start talking to one another and become what they refer to as the Great Majority, the historical dead of planet Earth. That gets Harry noticed by a government department called E-Branch, spies with extrasensory powers fighting the Cold War on a new psychic front. He has an opposite number in Russia called Boris Dragasani, who is a necromancer. He can rip the secrets from the dead by torturing their bodies in ways that the dead can still feel. Somewhere in the mix of this, there's a vampire. And let me tell you that the vampire in this is already in the grave and is an insane threat. What I would suggest, there are a lot of books in this series. Just get Necroscope. You can buy it on Amazon for, the post and packaging is more than the second-hand copy of the book. Dip into this, give it a go, and see if you want to carry on, because the series, the Necroscope series, continues with Necroscope II, Vamphyri, which is the name that he gives to his vampires. And I won't give anything away about how these vampires operate, what their laws are, what their rules are, that their biology is. But if you want a new take on vampires, you will just, and they're a threat. That's what I love about them. Not just in and of themselves and the powers they have and their appetites, but the threat of contagion that they represent is insanely dangerous. It continues on to Necroscope III, the source. You start learning more about where these Vamphyri, where these vampires come from, originate. Necroscope IV, Deadspeak, and finally rounds off with Necroscope V, Deadspawn. Then we get an enormous, epic trilogy that in some ways is standalone, but really genuinely does follow on from the first Necroscope cycle of 5 books. So if you want to carry on, if you want to learn more, there's the Vampire World trilogy, Blood Brothers, The Last Aerie, and Bloodwars. These 5 Necroscope books have much more elements of Cold War paranoia, spycraft. The Vampire World books are much more sort of epic fantasy, familial feuds, and the like. If you want to continue after that, there's a trilogy of E-Branch books. I forget the order they come in, but Invaders, Defilers, and Avengers, to do with members of E-Branch trying to fend off a spread of vampiric infection. After that, there is some a couple of Necroscope Lost Year books that I've never read. So fans of the series, if you've read the Necroscope Lost Years books, are they worth it? Is it worth me bringing myself up to speed with them? They follow Harry Keogh again and are set, as I understand it, between the original Necroscope cycle and the Vampire World trilogy. I've specifically reordered the books that have all the George Underwood covers, because as you can see, the first thing that ever attracted me to Necroscope was this amazing cover art. I have absolutely no idea why someone isn't actively developing the rights to adapt these books. Still, no one really. Necroscope doesn't get mentioned in the same category as the other big vampire franchises. So if you haven't, this is just a nod and a wink, a friendly recommendation from me to you, that if you like your vampires predatorial, if you like them devious, cunning, and deadly, if you like your vampires to be apex predators, then dive into the world of Harry Keogh Necroscope by Brian Lumley, and I all but guarantee you won't be disappointed.